Hi, my name's Mike. I'm from Faust Crafts and I'm demonstrating how to use resin dip to create some flowers. So this is what I will be making. This is an orchid and it's got 3 different sets of petals grouped together onto a wire. That's what we're going to create. And welcome to my video. This is how to make an orchid. Using resin dip wire, different size hoops, and then assembling with a bit of paint and the resin dip. To start with, you need to have the right wire. Now I use 26 gauge wire. This is a silver wire and it's quite a nice flexible wire to use. In addition to that, you'll need some forming hoops. Now this is a 2.2 centimetre hoop, and also for the centre of the orchid is a 1.2 centimetre hoop. That's what you need to start. To start with the wire, we have a 40 centimetre piece of wire, and that's where I shall cut. And then we'll start assembling. So we start with the outer leaves using the 2.2 hoop. To do that, you need to wrap it round and seal it each time. So you create a twist seal each time. Just a couple of twists, push into place, round the other way, twist seal, put into place, and then the final third. So you create a little bit of a tail, which you then will use later. So that creates 3 hoops around that pipe. Now you position this, so you've got 3 circles. You then position this and create a nice little round in the middle. Just squeezing it together. And then you tuck the small end around the last hoop, and then twist together. So you create a nice circle with 3 hoops with enough tail to be able to manage to do the dipping process. So we just twist that round with the tail. Now you've got 3 hoops and a nice centre. Now with the centre, you just squeeze in with your tweezers just to create a nice circle round. Then you create the shape of the petals for the orchid. So just a little squeeze at the top, and then just form the shape either with your fingers, with the tweezers, however you wish to do it. And then just create the shape of the orchid outer petals. So you have a shape like that for 3 petals. And you put that to one side. So one that I've made earlier, after it's been painted, will look something like that. 3 hoops. That's the outside petals. Now with the same size tube, you then create 2 petals. So you take round about a 25 centimetre piece of wire and wrap it round twice round that pipe. Again, nice tail on it. This time you just tuck the piece of wire between the 2 hold those two hoops together. And again, you twist to hold those together. With the tail. Take those off, and you've got two round circles. Again, these are the two petals that sit in the middle, and you just put those into a shape of the petals, with a little twist on the corners, the edges, and then just shape again. Again, you can shape fingers, you can shape with the tools that you've got to hand. Just squeeze those in to make them a bit fatter in the middle. And then you've got that pattern to create the two petals inside. Next, I take around about a 22-25 centimetre piece of wire, same gauge again, with a smaller 1.2 centimetre pipe, a piece of wood, and this time I'm going to make 3 hoops, and again with a little bit of a tail, and then just seal those 3 hoops off together and tie them up. And twist around to seal them together. If you've got too much of a tail on it, it doesn't matter, just pinch it off and you end up with 3 tied up hoops. This creates the centre of your orchid. With these, you just separate them so you can deal with them individually. Position them however you want them to be positioned. Okay, and then I do it with my nail. I just squeeze so I create a little bit of a texture on these inside petals. Backwards and forwards, just to squeeze the wire, create a little bit of a texture and a bit of a pattern on the wire. So I do that for those 2 at the base, at the bottom. Okay, and then I just form them into a petal shape, and then the top one, a little bit of patterning, but it's normal, it's a little bit flat at the top, and that's the sort of thing that you're looking to create. You just position it, and you've got this little bit of a tail, which is fine. So that's the shape that you're creating. So I've got 2 pieces at the bottom and a piece at the top. Okay, which position it to whichever looks best to you. Position round. Then you need to take a little tiny piece of wire, small gauge, and create 2 little offset, 2 little lines against that wire. So here I've got the 3 pieces. It creates the inside of the orchid. Now I'm going to create 2 little tiny ears, so to speak, off one of these pieces. This is where it gets a little bit fiddly, so just position it, and then you just got to try and tie this piece of wire around. Now I use a pair of tweezers to just to position this. Go around a couple of times, and it'll just hold it in place. You create 2 nice little ears on the edge of that petal. And you just trim off the excess. I took about a 5 centimetre piece of wire. Obviously you don't need that much, but it's easy to work with. Slightly wider, slightly longer than you need to get the right size of ears. You then reposition your petals, give them a bit of a shaping, and you'll end up with something like that. Okay, so for each of the 3 pieces of wire that you've shaped, I take a little bit of floristry tape now, in order just to make life easier after I've dipped them. You twist this round just to seal up. Now again, I use tweezers because it's a bit fiddly, and literally just squeeze the floristry tape round the wire. Just tidies the wire up. And then the final one. And there we go. So you've got your 3 pieces of wire into the shapes that you need to make your orchid, all with a little bit of floristry tape on them. And now we're ready to dip. Now I use Fantasy Film dip. This is an acrylic resin dip. So I get each piece of the wires that I want. I'm dipping in white snowdrop. So probably best, because it's a small tin, you have to create the room to be able to dip. So just shape your petals. They can be positioned a little bit afterwards, and then you just go in and dip. And what you're trying to create is the good old bubble shape, or the bubbles if you were doing bubbles. This way it's creating the film between the wires. It takes a few seconds just to seal off. You don't want too many drips on the end, so you can wipe those off. You have a nice little flower shaped petals. I'll put them in a little bit of oasis just to hold them. I get my two petals, and again it's the same process, dip. Try to keep it quite thin, and it's not so much surplus resin dip that you're dripping off. There we go, 2 petals there. Into the oasis, and then the final 3rd piece, the inside with the 2 little ears, and the same process again, dip with the white, the 2 little ears, and again same process, dipping in. Take just a few seconds just for that to settle down and set. And those 2 little ears, you just want to emphasize those, just dip again very gently, so it just coats those a bit thicker. Just wipe off the excess. That's what you'll end up with. It'll only take about 10-20 minutes to fully cure and dry off. I tend to leave them overnight and then come back to it.